How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Foggins, Media Corner, back again with a brand new video for today, and welcome back to another movie review. Today's movie I'm here to review today is the 2004 fantasy comedy adventure film, and this is the sequel to the 2002 movie, which is based off the famous animated franchise that was created by Hanna-Barbera. And as you guys can tell from the shirt that I'm wearing, of course, I'm here to review Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Now, this sequel was directed once again by Gosnell, who helmed the last film, and this was also written by James Gunn, who wrote the last film as well, and of course reunites the cast from the first movie, such as Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Linda Cardellini, Matthew Lillard, and Neil Fanning as the voice of Scooby-Doo. And this time around in the sequel, we see the Mystery Inc. gang are back, but this time they have to save Coolsville from an attack of the past monsters they have faced all those years ago, and in which they have been brought back to life by this evil masked figure who wants to take down the gang himself by using these monsters. So that's pretty much the story of Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Now, with my experience with the sequel growing up when I was a young kid, I used to watch this movie quite a bit when I was growing up, just like with the first movie, although I mostly watched that movie over this movie when I was growing up, but I still managed to watch the sequel quite a bit when I was growing up as a young kid. And looking back on the film now, ever since it was released back in 2004, for my personal opinion for the sequel is that I do like the sequel, although I don't think it is as better than the first film, even though back then when it was released, it was met with negative reviews from both critics and audiences. Like, some people didn't really like the sequel that much, and some said it wasn't really as good as the first one. But just like I said, I still like it, although, like I said, I just don't think it is as better than the first film. Although there are a few things I do like in the sequel, but there are a few things I just don't really, that just don't really hold up in the sequel, just like with the original film and all that. The things that I did like in the sequel was the cast reprising their roles from the last film. Like, you've got, of course, Freddie Prinze Jr. returning as Fred, and for his performance in the film, yeah, he does a decent enough job for his performance in this movie, as well as with Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne and Linda Cardellini as Velma. But of course, when it comes to Matthew Lillard as Shaggy, he is, of course, just like in the last film, he's the biggest standout when it comes to the performances in these movies. Yeah, like, he's really good in both of these movies. And of course, for Neil Fanning as the voice of Scooby-Doo, he is pretty good in the movie here. And when it comes to him and Matthew Lillard's Shaggy in this movie here, for a few scenes that provide some humorous moments here and there in this film, they're all pretty fun to watch here and there in this film. And as for some of the new cast members who are in the sequel here, in which you've got Alicia Silverstone, in which she plays this reporter in this film, she does a decent enough job for her performance in this film here. And you've got Seth Green, who plays this character named Patrick, who he works at this museum where they kept all the monsters and all that, and he's also like the love interest for Velma in this film. He does a decent enough job for his performance in the film here as well. And you've got the late Peter Boyle, who plays Old Man Wickles, which I thought he also did a decent enough job for his performance in the film. And you got Tim Blake Nelson, who plays like this villainous character named Jonathan Jacobo, which we do learn about his past and all that in this film, and he does a decent enough job for his performance in this film here. And everyone else, they all did a decent enough job for their performances in the film here. And when it comes to the sets in the film, they look really good, just like and they do get, and those sets do kind of pay homage to like the Scooby-Doo cartoons and all that, because they do look a bit like from the cartoons. And I just pretty much liked all the sets in this film here, like Old Man Wickles' mansion, and like Coolsville mining area and all that, and even the Coolsville Museum and all that, where they kept all the monsters and all that. And speaking of the monsters, like, the way they look really good, because they do look exactly like them from the original cartoons. Like, you've got this Tar monster, and the 10,000 Folk Ghosts, and the Skeleton Mans, and other monsters that we all know and love from the original cartoons. And when it comes to some of the humorous moments in the film here, there were a few that do stand out well for me, although there are ever since I rewatched the film, there are a few of them that just don't really stand out that well, and they just don't even still live up to this day and all that. And when it comes to like the effects in the film, just like with the last film, like the last film's effects just don't really hold up because they're not that good, and here they're just the exact same here, especially when it comes to like the monsters themselves in the film, because they are pretty distracting and all that. And when it comes to like the mystery itself, I kind of felt it was a bit weak, and yeah, pretty less focused on all that. And even when it comes to the end, it does kind of feel a bit predictable and all that. And when it comes to like the new villain in this movie, in which it is this evil masked figure, I kind of felt he was a bit weak as well and all of that. And he wasn't, I just didn't think he was a really good villain and all of that. But overall, in the end, guys, Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, I overall enjoyed the sequel, although I don't think it is as better than the first film here. But if you're a massive fan of the Scooby-Doo franchise and you do love the first film, if you've never seen the sequel, I would recommend you check out the sequel for yourselves here. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. I'm going to give Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed 3.5 out of 5. Yep, the exact same rating I gave just like the last film here. And like I said, there are a few things I do like in the sequel here. Although, ever since I rewatched this film, there are a few things that just don't really hold up to this day here. Just like with the last film as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my movie review on Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. And let me know what you think of the sequel if you have seen this already, or if you just recently checked out the sequel for the first time. Did you have a really fun time with the sequel, or did you just really despise the sequel? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Foggins Media Corner signing off.